In short, to my person, I'm a primary school teacher at the moment, and my main topic is music. So I've got some experiences with pupils, trying to explain to them what music is, how music works, and this will be part of the story I tell you. So the first part is from Microvita to music. What makes me as a musician be interested in Microvita? And there are three main points. One is that all creation is vibrational and music is a science of vibrations. So what is more reasonable than to view creation as music? And there are many scientists, occultists, and whosoever who showed the relation between music and cosmic science, who showed how the spheres are in harmony, how the rotation cycles of the planets are in musical harmonies, how the life of microbes act like symphonies and all that. So there is a lot of stuff to show that the cosmic science and music are very closely related, and we also see that many scientists also have a second leg as a musician. We know that many of them played the violin or were organ players whatsoever. So there is a deep relation which also touches me. Then in the Microvita text it has been stated that Microvita may be transmitted by tanmatras, and music is being transmitted by sound. I will say why I say sound is not music, but music is transmitted by sounds, and sound is regarded as being the subtlest tanmatra. So music is a very subtle science, and this we experience that music really very easily touches the heart, lifts up the mind. So music is a very important factor also in the question, what are the 10 matras doing to our beings? And to understand what music can do as healing power, as being part of the environment, is very important. And then what the idea I like is that Microvita may be transmitted by ideas. And this is further explained down that the way is that ideas are formed in the mind. If I'm a musician, I first have the idea of a musical piece in my mind. It has nothing to do with physical vibrations. It's just an idea in the mind. And then my idea gets expression through my organs. I either sing, I dance, I play an instrument, whatever I do. Then it becomes a tanmatra. It becomes a physical vibration in the world. It's just a change of pressure in the air. And this reaches somebody else's ear and gets some reaction. This is the ear organ being sent to the brain and to the mind, and then the listener, maybe, hopefully, gets my idea. So all that in between is just transmitting the idea. But the main point in music is the musical idea, and the musical idea the listener gets. The rest is just, okay, somehow we have to communicate. And it was said from Johann Sebastian Bach that he said that music can be such a fine thing if we wouldn't need the sounds. It's just the idea that counts. And we know if I just sing da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da, you will recognize the piece, even though my voice has no resemblance to the original instruments it was made for. Or if I sing any other tune to you, even though it sounds completely different, maybe it's the wrong language, maybe the wrong words, but you may recognize. You get the idea, you get some memory. And this, I thought, is very interesting that tanmatras are just carriers of ideas, and music is also some subtle idea which is being carried by Tanmatras. So maybe music and Microvita has something in connection. So how does music work? First of all, there is the act of hearing. It's very difficult for someone who is deaf by birth to understand what music is. You know, there are some composers who became deaf at the end. Very famous is Beethoven. So he knew what he was writing when he was composing at the end of his life. So when he was sitting down and writing down the musical notation, he had an idea how it sounds like. But if somebody has no experience of sound, then it's very difficult to understand music. So the first act of hearing concerns any audible event. It may be the slamming of a door, it may be the sound of water, it may be footsteps, it can be anything. So it's not actually music, but it's a prerequisite to understand music. Then we come to sound, and here it's already frequent vibrations. That means we have in sound not only audible events happening like once, like slamming of the door, but if I repeat that slamming, it may already become music. And there were some composers in the late years of last century who composed music for slamming of doors or typewriters or whatever. So nobody thought that this could be an instrument, but by making it into frequent acts and composed acts, all these strange things became music. So one very important factor is that music means that something is repeating itself. If I do it just once, if I just go on the street, clap in my hand one time and leave again, there will be hardly anybody who says, oh, that's a nice piece of music. But if I stand there and clap 20 times, 50 times, then it gets rhythm and people say, oh, it may be a little bit short, maybe a little bit simple, but it's already kind of music. So if we become more complicated, then we come to rhythm. And this is underlined because this will be my topic today. And rhythm means that's a musical way to divide time, to understand time. I'm missing Mr. what's his called? Williamson? John, yeah. I was afraid to mention time, but okay. So rhythm is very basic for music. There is hardly any music which has no rhythm in it. There may be music without melody, without harmony, but about every kind of music has a rhythm. There are some kind of music which are very to be meant for relaxation or something, just sound evolving very slowly changing with no rhythm, but it's very seldom. Then we have melody. Every one of us can sing, and what we do very often is singing melodies. Harmony, then it becomes more complicated, but I think most of us can play some kind of guitar tunes or some kind of piano. Form, if we still get bigger and bigger in the scope, then we come to form, musical forms. In most musical pieces, we have some different parts. We have part A is repeating, then we have part B is repeating, and so on. And if we still go like a zoom outwards, then we come to history, that music is also embedded in the history of time, place, and person. This means there is music of a specific place. You say, for instance, that is the Vienna School of Music. Or if you have hip-hop, the hip-hop style of New York will be different from the hip-hop style in London. So you have all these boundaries also in time. Some symphony 300 years ago sounds different from a symphony just 20 years ago. And even the persons, the composers, have a development in their life. So to understand music is also to understand that music is bound to an environment. So the parameters of music, just the main ones. Here we have the time. This is why I was afraid to mention. This is time as a vector, okay. But as we normally experience it and put it in diagrams, is that time is somehow going forward. We don't know where it started, but we know that it goes on somehow. At least we think we know. And if we only deal with that part of music, then we can already play rhythm. You don't need any other thing. If you just think about time and how to divide time with a musical meaning, then we already have rhythm. If you take another aspect, that's a frequency, that means musical pitch, then we can play melodies. But there is hardly any melody without rhythm. So rhythm is the first thing. And if we add the second part, that we play different time intervals, also with different pitches, then we get melodies. And then if we put the different notes of melodies at one point together, then we get harmony. So harmony is a special case of melody, you can say. And if you look at choir music, then it's not only different melodies being sung at the same time, but they have a common sound together. And this is what makes a harmony. And this structure, which is evolving here, has, in most cases, some kind of form. There are some very simple songs, which are just verse 1, verse 2, verse 3, just telling a story and telling on. But most of our songs, even the simple ones, have at least two parts who are somehow alternating. And if you come to symphony or other pieces of evolved art, then they get really complicated. With variations of A mixed with B, and C, and interlude, and all that stuff. So it becomes complicated. But rhythm is a very basic part. So this division of time is different from the ones we normally do. If we have any other description of time, for instance, let's say in geography, if I make a scale and say, okay, how much rain was falling in Berlin last year, then I have January, February, and so on. Or if I say, what was the blood pressure of a patient at 8 o'clock, at 10 o'clock, at 12 o'clock. So we have division of time according to our normal divisions of time, like years, maybe how many people lived in Berlin 100 years ago, 200 years ago, and so on. But in music it's different. As I said in the beginning, one characteristic of music is that it has this circular idea, this looping idea. So what we do in music is that we have divisions, and these divisions repeat.